Hi, this is Green Living Australia's Valerie Pearson talking about kefir. This was recorded live at a recent presentation on gut health and fermentation held at Marcia's on Montague.
Let's move on. Let's go to kefir. Kefir started off as another dairy product. Okay, it is a fermented dairy drink. It is also an alcoholic beverage because it has yeast in it. Don't worry, the amount of alcohol, you would have to drink a lot of cough syrup to get the same amount of alcohol. Okay, but it is known because of the yeast factor in it to have alcohol in it. It has completely different microorganisms in it than the yogurt. So all the microorganisms on the panel for the kefir are not in the yogurt. Here it is. It's the blue one. Okay. Once again, it does 100 liters. So I'm going to talk to you about the difference in between kefir grains and kefir culture, because this is a big area of confusion. Anyone making kefir, made kefir? Okay, yes, failed. Okay, no, so basically deliberately not making kefir. Okay, all right, so you've got this thing called kefir grains. So little squidgies, like a little cauliflower squidgy thing. You know, you put it in and you put in milk, and then it eats sugar and turns the sugar into acid, and then it thickens a little bit, but still not too much, so it's still a drink. And then when you finish fermenting it, which takes a day or a little bit more if you want to, you then pour it through something to catch those grains, and you can take those grains and you can use them in your next one, right? Okay, good. The grains are not microorganisms. They are the house that they built to live in. Okay? If you take grains and you analyze them under a microscope, you will find out that if they're in dairy, they are made of chains of polysaccharides. Okay? Because remember those bacteria that make chains of polysaccharides? Well, there's different bacteria in here, but there's still bacteria that make chains of polysaccharides. And casein, which is the protein in the milk. That's why dairy grains have a slightly creamy yellowy color, because casein, when it oxidizes, goes yellow. So if you put a little bit of casein with a lot of chains of polysaccharides, you get like a creamy color. Okay? So that's what they are. The microorganisms that live in them come out to go around, eat, collect, grow, and go back, go around, collect some more building materials, go back, and they're building it, right? So when you take the grains out, the drink itself is still full of microorganisms, which is why it's healthy to drink. The grains, you're taking the house full of more microorganisms and putting it in the next batch. What that requires is doing it continuously, because if you take it out and go, I don't want to do it for a month, and put it somewhere, it's going to die. They'll die. They've got a house, but now they've got no food. Freezing them. You go freeze them, they'll come back to life. Yeah, who's tried that? 50% of the time, actually less than 50% of the time for me, did it work. It didn't work. Also, once you put them in dairy, you can't put them in water or coconut water or apple juice because they're full of milk. They're full of casein, and I can't transfer it. My son won't touch it. So you need to be able to change from one thing to another if you've got a family like mine with a vegan, a meat eater, and a veggie, all growing up in the same house. So I do it differently. I married a bit of new technology with it, and what I have is I have the culture. So it's not the grains, not the house. It's the bacteria that would build the house if left in one place long enough, and that live in the house. Okay? So there's 5 of them in here. So remember, we got 5 microorganisms in our system when we ate the yogurt with the probiotics. If you drink this every day as well, just a cup, 250 ml cup of kefir every day, you're getting 5 more. So you're increasing your diversity as well as your number. It also has a yeast in it, which is a sugar-loving yeast, which gives you that little bit of the yeasty flavor in that. So the bacteria gives you the tang, and the yeast gives you the yeasty flavor, and a tiny little bit of alcohol, nothing to worry about. So to make mine, what I do is I need to warm it up to about 30 degrees. These bacteria like 30 degrees. Those bacteria like 40, these like 30. These are called thermophiles. These are called mesophiles. So thermo, heat-loving, meso, medium temperature-loving. So all I need to do is get a wide mouth jar of some kind. They have these here. Wide mouth jar. Open it up. I put my liquid that I've already warmed to about 30 degrees. My favorite one's coconut water, so I just get the organic coconut water with no preservatives in it out of the fridge section in here. And I chuck it in a sink of warm water and make myself a cup of tea while I'm waiting. When I get it out, I open it up, I pop my thermometer in, and it's like 30, 31, 32, 28, anywhere right around there. I go, yeah, that's good. I chuck it in here. I do make sure this is thoroughly cleaned first. I then put my tiny little bit of culture, not grains, culture in here, and I cover it with a cloth. Okay, I like to use like a tight weave cheesecloth, same cloth I use to like drain my yogurt to make labneh, things like that. And then I leave it for 24 hours on the kitchen counter. I don't close it, I leave it. After 24 hours, I taste it. Sometimes I leave it for another few hours. Sometimes I'm totally happy with it. When I'm happy with it, I go, that's great. I remove the cloth, I close the lid, and I pop this in my fridge door. Okay, and then over the next day or 2 or 3, I will drink a cup a day until it's gone. I didn't have to catch the grains, drain the grains, strain the grains, save the grains, and start another one or find a babysitter if I want to go on holiday. Okay, I didn't have to do any of that work. Because that work all takes time and effort. And what happens if things take too much time and effort, you go, oh, I just won't do that today. And then a day turns into 3 or 4 days. And then before you know it, you haven't had kefir in a month because you couldn't be bothered messing with it. Well, there's no messing. It takes a minute or 2. Okay? You get home with your container and you throw it in a sink of water while you make yourself a cup of tea. You come back, you go, pour that in, a little bit of culture, shake, 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 put the cloth on, leave it. Literally 2 minutes once again. And now, you can do it with milk. Absolutely. It's beautiful with milk. Lovely with milk, lovely with coconut. I do it with apple juice. I love apple juice, but I'm certainly not going to drink it because it's full of sugar. Who would eat 7, 8 apples in one sitting? Well, that's how much is in a cup of apple juice. So you know, without the fiber, it's so easy to get the intense amount of sugar out of 7 or 8 apples in one hit. That's not good for you. Mother Nature meant you to eat the apple. So I ferment the apple juice to eat the sugar. So now it's a sparkly, bubbly apple juice. It's just gorgeous. It's like apple cider, but it's not an alcoholic one, except that tiny little bit.
Using water.
Water, yeah.
Still in 2 nights. I've had several fails and several good ones with water.
Yep.
I've used spring water,
Mm-hmm.
and ironically that didn't work.
Okay, good. So it needs trace minerals. While they are carbon-based life forms like us, and they want to eat carbohydrates as their energy source, they can't eat fat as an energy source like we can. They can only do carbohydrates. They still need trace minerals. So you sell trace minerals in a liquid form here? Get them here.
Or tap water. Just
Tap water's got chlorine in it. Don't do that.
boil it.
Yeah, you can boil it
Get it cool.
and then let it cool down, and then there's no chlorine in it. Yeah, but don't use chlorinated water. Yeah. Okay, so here's another trick you can do. I like to do second ferment as well. Okay. By the way, if you're doing water kefir, you do need to put some sugar in for them to eat something, and trace minerals as well. I like to do a second ferment. So after the first ferment, when I come along and I taste it, and I go, yeah, that's good, and I take the cloth off, I can close it up, put it in the fridge, or I can close it up and not put it in the fridge. Now, all the carbon dioxide was escaping before through the cloth, but not anymore. So now it's carbonating. And now I get a bubbly coconut water or a bubbly apple cider type kefir, or it's just the list of what you can do with this is only limited by your imagination. I'm always coming up with new stuff. Like I do one where I do water, and then I actually get about 1/3 of a cup of peach nectar and put that in as my sugar. Oh my God, that is such a good one. It is such a good one. I used to be addicted to that Snapple iced tea, the peach flavored one. I was bucket loads of sugar, and I just had to have one every day. Literally addicted. And I replaced it by making my own ferments by putting a bit of peach nectar in it, and that got me off. I would actually start to have the jitters if I didn't have a Snapple. It was disgusting. I became an addict, a Snapple addict. Yeah. See? Yeah. Now you can tell me your problem, and then you can tell me yours, and then we'll do the 12-step program together. Yeah. So that's how I got off it. Yeah.
Ginger and sugar.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Boil it up like a tea, like an iced tea. You can add whatever spices or flavors
Yep.
you want.
Yep. Cinnamon, all kinds of things. Yes.
You mentioned thoroughly clean the jug. Do you need to sterilise it?
Yes. Yes. So I do. I wash mine in hot soapy water. And then I leave it in a hot sink, and then I actually scald things off. Do not tip boiling water into this glass jar and have the temperature change really rapidly. The jar has to be hot before you can do that. But you can put it in a dishwasher and on a hot cycle. And those dishwashers the thing about the dishwashers is so great, they get really hot. Really hot. It comes out of the dishwasher, and it's no problem at all. Okay? Now, here's another trick for you. Once you open this, after you've done your second ferment, it's all bubbly, right? Once you open this, guess what happens to the bubbles? That first drink is bubbly, the second, third, and fourth aren't. So I have these little jars, this size, with lids. I didn't bring a lid today because I'm just using it as I'm going to be using it for something else. After I've done my first ferment with my leader, I fill 4 of these jars and put the lid on and leave them on my kitchen counter for another day. And then I come and put them all in the fridge, and then I can go to the fridge and I can get 1 of these out, take the lid off, and drink it straight out of the jar. It's bubbly. Next day, take the lid off, drink the next one. It's bubbly.
So 3 days worth of leaving about.
Yeah.
And what about now? Hot temperatures?
Oh yeah, good. Fermenting comes from a hot place. Yeah, that's where it all comes from. It comes from a hot place. Cold countries have trouble fermenting. I know people ask me this question all the time. Oh, are you sure we can do this fermenting, especially cheese making in Australia because it's really hot and it's not hot in Europe? Cheese didn't come from Europe. It came from. Oh, it came from the Fertile Crescent. It came, yeah, exactly. It came from the Fertile Crescent, the first place in the world where agricultural existed. It came from the Arabian Peninsula. That's,
We all have air conditioning.
yeah, we all have air conditioning. So yeah. So yeah, you can't actually have it too cold for cheese making. In winter, I would tell my husband I had to have the heater on because my cheese needed it. Yeah, he believed me for the longest time that it was just for the cheese. So, yeah. So it's really easy to use maintenance-free kefir. You will not have to drain, strain, catch, have difficulties going, I can only do dairy or I can only do water. You could change the kefir you made every week every 50, you could come up with 52 different ideas and do 52 different things, I'm pretty sure. Oh, there's a good idea for my next book. Because I just, challenge accepted. Okay, so seriously, you can come up with so many ideas. Okay? Okay, good. We good on kefir?
Hi, we hope you enjoyed this presentation all about kefir. Visit our website and you'll find kefir on the site, as well as being able to visit our store finder to find your local Green Living Australia supplier.